Good evening. Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the think show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so called African American didn't find their way to America in the trunk of a ship. Hit the like if you like what you hear. Share this with anyone who you think needs to hear it. But here at African Americans Ain't Africans, we don't go about what somebody else say, what somebody else writes. We figure it out ourselves. Copper colored lifestyle. So you're one of if you've ever blown a dandelion before it flowers and those little umbrella like things that just float across when you blow on it, that's you, copper colored lifestyle. Just float in, share whatever, and boom. That's what you are, how I see it. Because the so-called African Americans, so-called Black, they've been taken so far away from nature. Well, they weren't taken, they walked away. And if you look at how that structure is set up, the African American Black paradigm, how it's set up, who set it up, who ran it, how'd you get into it, you will be able to see that. So what we're doing now, we're not seeing that. We're just talking about the effects of it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work simply, mainly, because so-called African Americans and so-called Black people have pulled away from nature, the very thing that got them here in the first place. Amen? Huh? We dismiss that. We dismiss the natural world. We want to go get with Jesus, don't we? You want to be a Muslim. You want to be anything but yourself. And you're paying for that shit handsomely. So this isn't for the over 40s who know everything and don't know shit. This is hopefully finds the hands in the younger people, the 30s and under, the ones that seeing, looking and mapping out what's going on in the world. Your young people are understanding that it's the world against them. The African American Black, as part of their training, do some study on Thurgood Marshall, okay, and that whole integration thing. And I ask all integrationists, how's it going? And I'm not talking about just for you materially. I'm talking about you spiritually, you energetically. You're destroying your home in the process by when you get one of these jobs. Because you want to be with them. And it shows, their narratives always show, even if it isn't the case, their narrative always shows that somebody is putting a foot in the Black man's or the African American's ass daily. And you have so-called Black people and so-called African American, you have them supporting up on top, long as they have a job. Job and Job in the Bible, you see how they confuse you with that. We'll talk about that another time. The so-called African American Black, no, and this is not everybody. By no means. You have some angels would be on the C team compared to these people. You have some if you knew where you came from, most all of you, if you know where you came from and who you were, and while everybody bum rushes over here to steal your shit, and you cool with it, you rather fight and beat up each other than to protect the home front. Why is that always the theme in so-called Black, African American? Why is it always that you're the bad guy? You don't care about nothing. Just the attitude you have now in the mainstream. You don't care about nothing. You don't care about buying products that are not going to be just, you can't, you're just going to bury it in the earth. And what is that going to turn to? Burying artificial. And so, the so-called Black African Americans have been at this game for a long time. The problem is now they're arrogant about it. Arrogant. I can do that. You've heard the talk. You see the attitude. You see it. I can do what I want to do. No, you can't. No, you can't speak the way you want to speak. You have to speak something that's harmonious. Huh? Huh? You have to speak so everybody can, so the birds can pick from it, so the bees can come take from it. That's supposed to be, that's how they described you speaking when these so-called people came over here. Read what they wrote about your ancestors, about your ancestors. Read what they wrote about you. Damn. I realize reading isn't a thing no more. uh, Reading would be considered gay today. If I'm carrying a book, but that's the thought pattern. That's how Black folks think. Remember, when you ask them, it's like, well, your hair is black. It's really not, it's brown, but that's darker than what you're talking about. Why do you call yourself something that you're not? And the looks on their faces when that question is asked, ask them that. You're calling yourself something that you're not. Why? Just ask. Just ask them. You are not black. The word, you're definitely not that. I don't think, some try to reach the depths of that. So who trained you to refer to yourself as that? I want to know, where'd you get that term from? Who came up with that word and gave it to you and you took it and started wearing it like a chain around your neck? I'm going to put the hookup to the chat in the chat box. Somebody come explain. Somebody got to come explain, because really, what is that? Is it, a lot of people say, elders say, they say, Carrie, the black man is the first devil.
This was up first, and then we get right to you. Okay, well,
Read their literature. Read their stories from authors you never even heard of. Because their stories are so powerful, you can't even comprehend them. You think they're make believe, fairy tale, because you never have the experiences that these people experienced. It's like these people that are being, what do you call them when you kidnap children and trade them all over the place? That's a major sector. And this is we're supposed to be we're supposed to be in the age of Aquarius. For real? Explain. Somebody explain it. I mean, like you would explain throwing a baseball to a 4-year-old kid where he gets it. Explain it. And when you ask blacks, African Americans, Negro, colored, when you ask them to explain what they're talking about, they can't. Why? Because they only do what they're told. They don't do nothing else. They don't they're not even thinking. I call them sock puppets. You're here on life and have to be motivated or told what to do by another person. Oh, what do you call that? You feel with the Holy Spirit. You can't motivate yourself to make this world a better place. You have been ground to the dust. People make money off of you acting an ass daily. Well, how is that? Seriously, explain it. I mean, just to do it for money. There's a point. OJ's for the love of money. So what is that song true? That's why they say the music is different today. It's not even, you can't even call what's played across the airwaves music. It's all artificial music. And come and explain it if I'm wrong, because I don't want to be out here lying and bullshitting people like most niggas do. It's lying and bullshitting. The music today doesn't use instruments. The what you call music today, it's all computer generated sound. That's all it is. To have you vibrating on a certain frequency, saying the dumbest shit that you could think of. I mean, ugh. That's how far the music has devolved. Music has devolved, and I know you've all seen the pictures. I know you all seen them. Big bands. And when you listen to those bands, when you listen to all those instruments vibing, whatever wave they're on, all those instruments intricately sync together to make a sound is off the hook. And this is the cool part about it. Watching those brothers practice, being in that, it's one of those amazing, if you ever get to see it or feel it. That's the music as it came up through the years to where it is now. If you look at the timeline of, let's say, music from 1900 to now, you'll see we're at the low point. If I'm lying, if you don't believe, whatever, there's the chat button right there. Explain it to us how you would explain a 4-year-old to throw a baseball. Simple. Not a whole bunch of dumb bullshit. Why is the majority of people like that? They're not in the natural world no more. They're in that artificial world. The AI is you. I mean, I don't see how you can't get it. The artificial thinking is you. And you can tell by the way the people talk, what they're being programmed with. The any what you call TV, for real. I mean, they virtually got brothers playing women, and we with that. We love it. We love it. And it's not everybody. It's a majority of the people, enough for all these companies and corporations to make money off of. Because see, the African American, he'll try to lie. We don't. Yeah, you do. And then try to act like you don't, to train the children to do that. Because remember, your son, your daughter is your replacement, right? We're totally away from the natural world, totally, and arrogant about it. Arrogant, and know what's going on and what's happening. Okay, you keep messing with the forces that is giving you air to breathe, ground to walk on. I know not many of you walk on the concrete and you don't walk on the earth. If you do walk, I realize most people don't walk. It's another problem. No more walking, no more skills, motor skills, basic motor skills. You knock those out every time you press your beeper to get in your car, right? You don't walk. Eating all this bioengineered food, and you think it's gonna keep you for real, cuz? Eating foods that don't reproduce themselves as you do, you think that's gonna work? What you call African Americans, what you call Black people, that's where they are now. So this is why I say African Americans ain't Africans, y'all. You gotta look into yourself. Your people, who were they? Who were these people that made the world want to come here? And the reason they take it, and you're kept away from the natural world, because if you're in the natural world, then everything will revert back to you. It's you. Everybody's always talking about you, good or bad. You're on everybody's mind. Ask yourself why. It's simple. It's simple. And the majority, I'm not saying all. So when I say we, um, it's not all. Most of the time, it's most. Here's an example. Today, summer 2025, the so-called Black church has gained membership or lost membership. If they gained membership, press 1. If they lost membership, press 2. I'm talking about all of them together. Have they gained membership or have they lost membership? Seriously, don't lie. They lost it. Why? Why? They've lost membership because the people are waking up to the reality. It ain't me. I'm just helping. I just got to help along. But the people are starting to see behind the facade and the lies. Now, not everybody's seeing it. Not everybody's seeing it. Uh, the injection everybody got 5 years ago, that led right there. I mean, we can kill argument because we know, that I didn't do it. Yeah, yeah, you did. You do things to negate your life. You do things to negate your life. That gives lives to the people coming over. It's simple. It's simple. They dug up your grave and ate your, crushed the bone down and took your people's bone and used it as medicine to bring them to life. We don't know that. I don't know how we don't know, but we don't know that. Maybe that's why many of us act the way we act because we don't want to think about it. The 5 civilized tribes. So we hear a lot about the 5 civilized tribes, but here's something. Let me, um, hold up. What? Um, okay, check this out. I'm sorry, you guys. Uh, working this, I'm not really as I should be. Okay, here we go right here. Okay, now put this into your memory bank as you're thinking about this, because remember, what we know in life, you are your ancestors. They still move through you. You come through them. This is natural world. We're talking natural world. I know many of you, you're into artificial. That's all you know. That's all many know. Some people want to be a part of it. Some people are trained to be part of it. Some people, and this is a lot, are a part of it and know they're a part of it and try to get you into it. The 5 civilized tribes. This is like if you've ever heard the history of 1775 Independence Day, like, chuck all that. The 13 original colonies were along the eastern seaboard, New York, New Jersey, all of that, letting you know that these people were coming from other places. There's a place in England called York, New York. If you go up to the north, past Maine and up into Canada, you'll come across a place called Newfoundland. What does that sound like? We're coming from somewhere else. We found some new land, Newfoundland. When we're taught about geography, we're not taught these things. So as you're coming to America, you start coming up with places where you're from and saying the place where you're at now is the new one because we are leaving the old one. That's how places like New York, New Jersey, New Brunswick, it's all over the place up there. So as you come down the coast, you run into New Jersey, Virginia, Maryland, blah, blah, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Those were this is the story that's given. It doesn't work out that way in my mind. But when you notice the setup along the East Coast, you'll know behind it, this is called Indian land. All of this. Florida came all the way to where Louisiana now. You got to erase these states. That's one thing that's messing us up big time. Borders. There are no borders. That limits your ability. Plus the fact that you argue and fuss and can't see eye to eye on nothing because you're in everybody else's stuff. That's why you're not in your stuff. I met a brother that's a Mormon. For real, cuz? For real? Seriously. So when I say that these people that call themselves all these names that they didn't even come up with, these are titles, like we were talking about black earlier, that people give you and you take them and run them in the ground, no matter what they mean. This is what black African Americans do. I'm not bragging. I'm making an observation. Tell me if I'm wrong. Yeah, tell me if I'm wrong. Because I want to know. Because I want to know if you if I'm telling these children wrong. Okay. Well, so how do you get to the children? Well, you have people who listen People who have friends that listen and they'll, get us hooked up. It's simple. You have friends that are children. That you have friends that have children, 5, 6 years old. They have friends. Boom. Take them off a pizza, something, and get them all together and ask them questions. Make them prove what they've been told. I mean, these are children. You got to do this with the kids. They'll snap into effect immediately. They'll snap back into effect immediately. Why? Why? Because that's all they know. Children aren't born messed up. As soon as they come out the womb, we put that fake Similac in their mouth and wonder. Then try to act like I didn't give them none. Yeah, yeah. How many babies are getting breast milk and the mother is eating healthy or not is not eating a lot of how many of children are getting that today? I don't care what kind of job you got. I don't care what kind of car you drive. Explain it. Explain. The 5 civilized tribes. This is what you have to keep in mind all the time about the 5 civilized tribes because I hear a lot of people talking and they really don't know what they're talking about. They really don't know what they're talking about. If you look at this map, the 5 civilized tribes are right along. So this is, I want to give you a precursor, pre warning. This is before they came over, you know, and start really laying siege to the Indian, your great great grandmothers and fathers. The 5 civilized tribe, you'll notice, is right there where the 13 colonies start and stretching over into the Indian territories. Why is this important? Because it gives us context to when we run our mouths talking, yapping about stuff we don't know about. The way we're looking at it, we confuse everything. Why are these 5 civilized tribes right there? Why are these people called 5 civilized tribes? Hmm? Everywhere else, we nigga, savages, monkeys, you name it. Those titles come from you, aimed at us. Now, I realize many of us pick up these terms and run with it and say that we're that. I'm not one of them. Remember, when you take on titles and names that other people give to you and you take it and wear it like a baseball cap, you're a sock puppet. I mean, please explain that you're not. Please explain that you're not. Explain. Explain that you're not. Five civilized tribes. Why why are they starting from the 13th colonies and bleeding over into Indian territory? Now, if you look at it, this map, I hope you can see it. Seminole. Why are the Seminoles so important? Why are the Seminoles so important? We're going to go through them all so you'll understand instead of just five civilized tribes. And that's all you know. And then you go out there and try to explain to people, but you don't, you just go by what somebody else say. And we always ask, what do you say? I can't say nothing. You'll never have nothing to say. So who were the Seminoles? How did they become a civilized tribe? Because I'm looking at Florida. And if you've ever been to Florida, Florida is beautiful. Sunshine state for nothing. Beautiful. Remember, the British are the ones who started those colonies up there. The Spanish, allowing the Spanish to go around, they went around Florida. Spain, England, they brothers. They the same people. They the exact same people. That's how Seminoles, that's how Seminoles got in to be a civilized tribe. Seminoles, eh, it may be some places down there that say Seminole on it. Yeah, okay. Because, dating back to this time, but the names of the people are written in those towns, those old unincorporated areas. Those are people holding on to their land, to their heritage. You can't come here and do what you want to do. What? And you've given proof that you have no respect for the land. You have people who are like that, though you'll never see them because you know that they're the indigenous people, just the way they speak. You don't want to hear that. You want to hear Steve Harvey voice, you don't the truth. Since they became digital, what you call African American and what you call black, truth, truth burns their ear. They hate it. They despise it. They don't want to hear it. They'll lie. They'll lie. So when a woman says, when Golden Falcon says, Carrie, the black man is the first devil. I was like, damn. And so when she said it, I was like one of them guys, oh, you lying, the black man is the Black Panthers and blah, blah, blah. No, I went to go look at what she said. Damn, she right. You're taking the ideologies. You're taking the historical relationship with people. Remember, England had ran into other people way before they ran into you. They're on that side of the world. Africa and Europe is connected. You can walk. You can walk back and forth. But when they put borders in, lines, it carves up your mind. You won't even look at the whole ever. Just because somebody put a line on some paper through it. You carve up the place so you can have more control. And then you dumb the people down. That happens everywhere. All because I can give you something that you never had before. And this is all the indigenous people everywhere. These people coming over here as emissaries from their countries to take your land away from you so they can annex it. Your job is to let it happen. That's the job of the African American. That's the job of the Black people. Like I say, come and explain that that's not happening. And don't lie. I mean, this is everywhere. Just show the indigenous people always down. I can't get up. I fail, but I can't get up. But they got a bag in their hand. Pay attention to how you were trained. Then you got the Creek, Muskogee. Who are they? Who's the Creek Muskogee? You ever heard of the term Cherokee? You ever hear that term? Cherokee? Who are those people? Who are those people? Cherokee people. They run right through Georgia. This is this is you getting wiped out. So you have some context of what happened. It was a double assault. And we got to remember, we're in the South. We're down here in the South. In the North, the French came in through the North. This is going on at the same time. You are being attacked. 13 colonies. And remember, it's a lot of it's a lot of Indian people that sold out. Wanted their women and wanted the little things that they bought from, India, Africa, Pakistan, all those other places that they were hooked up with before they ran into you. They teach you to be dumb, right, and follow them. If that's not how it's done, somebody please come up and explain. Explain then how it's done and how you make it happen, not you individually on the panel listening. How does that happen? Explain how that happens. The Cherokee people, and they look, many of y'all, same people. Okay, so now to the left of that, you have the Choctaw people, and that covers mostly Alabama, Mississippi. So as this time is going, remember, time is going on. Just put yourself back there in the 1820s. This is your ancestors. Your great grandmama is living at this time. What is she seeing? That's how you look at it, not by what somebody else say. We won't even, I mean, if you suggest that to an African American or a Black person to do that, they'll cuss you out. Won't you? Mississippi and Alabama. Read about that time, how Alabama and Mississippi used to be one state. North of that, in the Chickasaw area, in the Memphis, Tennessee, St. Louis, all of that, up the Mississippi River. And we talked about the Cherokee. Now, why are they 5 civilized tribes? Because it's right there. Remember, I said it's right there where the 13 colonies stopped trying to encroach on the land. Before the 5 civilized tribes, before that, the people, they were like, no, you ain't coming over here. So they had to make friendlies. How did they make friendlies? Give a Negro something that shines. He will do anything. If I'm wrong, somebody please explain how it's done. Explain how it's done. Give a Negro something that's shiny. It can be a safety pin. OJs, for the love of money. If you've never heard it before, that is the Negro way of living. That see, black doesn't describe a person, it describes a thing. It describes a thing. People are not things. Well, in this what is it? What you call it? Transhuman state everybody's going into now. You really see it. And you really see it because the people have no clue of who they are or their purpose of being here. So these 5 civilized tribes, they're the ones that the guys were going to the army, making babies with the indigenous women. Right? That's what you do. Take the men away, bring in your men. Isn't that how it's done? For some reason, we think that's something cool or some kind of way because we've been in a war. No, it's not. No, it's not. That's not how you did it. That's not how you did it. And soon as somebody came and infected you with what they told you should have, you had it, didn't you? But you want to try to pretend like you don't remember what happened. Huh? Didn't you go fight in these wars? Wasn't you eager to pick up a shotgun or a musket or whatever and turn it on your brother? Isn't that what you did? Brothers don't want to talk about that. And this is how the gun culture is set up today. Nigga, if you buy a gun, you make sure you kill yourself with it. What does the Negro say? Yes, boss. If I'm lying, come explain to me how I'm lying without no bullshit. Yeah, you won't. You won't. You get a weapon from another man to kill out your brother. For real, cuz? Explain. You join organizations and other groups worshiping other men. For real, cuz? You wonder why you lose every time. This is what you do. You breathe to do it. Copper Indio. What's up, guys? You muted. Gotta unmute your mic.
Hey, brother Kerry, how you doing?
What's happening, man?
Hey, nah, you speaking to some pretty real things here. I just wanted to jump on real quick and back up some of what you're saying. If I can do that real quick,
The mic is yours.
I appreciate it, man. I was just looking at a couple things about the way Wayapemeok, the what they call the Chowan Indians in North Carolina. That in what's now called Gates County, used to be called Chowan County, but they call it Gates County now. In the the 1780s, a man named William Lewis and Samuel Harrell went in and took the last few remnants of their reservation because they got caught up on reservation land early on during our development. And this was because they allowed the same thing that you was talking about. They allowed the foreigners to come in and marry into the tribes. When they married into the tribes, and these weren't just what we call, so-called white people. These were Sephardim. These were people who were Moors. These were people who were outsiders. It was everybody, even people who might have looked like us
Right.
phenotypically, right? So that's the first part. It wasn't just people that we look at now and say those are invaders.
Right.
There were people who looked like us as well.
Right.
And these people came from everywhere. It was everybody coming in at us at the same time, in the same way. They married into our tribes. Like you said, they gave us shiny things. They gave us these coins. They gave us these metal pots and pans. They gave us all of these things that just bewildered us because we weren't used to seeing them. And then they gave them to us at a price. And the price kept increasing. Sound a little bit like today, don't it? Where you get you want something, you got to pay for it. Now you got to pay a little bit more for it. Now you got to pay a little bit more for it to the point where you start owing them money that you don't have, by the way. And whenever they get you into debt, that's what they do. They force you on the land, or they start a war with you. And if they can't beat you, they'll come in and they'll turn your cousins against you. They'll go down the road about 50, 70, 80 miles. They'll find some people you don't like and they'll bring them right to you. They'll work them up, have you fight them, and whoever's the victor, they take them, ally with them, finish you off, and put the rest of the people that's left on the reservation. That's what happened to the Chowan people near Bennett's Creek, what's now called Bennett's Creek. Very
Now,
nice area if for anybody that gets to go over there. I don't live far from there. I live maybe about an hour or so away from there. And those people were gathered up, and like I said, they married into those people's tribes. They gave them shiny things to get them into debt. They turned their cousins against them. And when they had a little bit, couple hundred acres of land, they started selling it out from under them because, like I said, they married into the tribes and they would have people represent their tribes as chiefs. I'm using air quotes. They would represent them as chiefs or chief men among, you'll see this written in some of the documents from the 1700s, chief men among the Chowanak and the other tribes that were in the area. And they would use them as representatives to sell the land out from under them. They would give them the worst land to grow corn and other commodities with, which they were using as payment because they didn't have enough money to pay for anything. I mentioned that story, that movie Sinners, that was out recently. Very interesting movie, very very well made movie as well. But they do in the film. I'm gonna make this all come home in a second. They show it's a movie primarily set with so-called black characters in Mississippi, right? These are people who live south of that area in Chicago that were from Mississippi, and these are two guys that had come back from Chicago after going to war, like you said, picking up guns to go kill other people. Then they got in with the gangsters, with the Irish gangsters and the Italian gangsters, let them fight each other, and they took a little bit of money, came back down to Mississippi and wanted to open up business for themselves. Well, who did they sell to? They sold to the Klan, who they knew was gonna come after them. But they also showed. I don't want to get the whole movie away in case anybody hasn't seen it yet. But they show the so-called black characters, but they also show Choctaw people that are chasing after one of the other characters as a major character in the movie, and they depict them very different. Now they show them in a way that makes them seem kind of like they're mixed with something else, like they look a little different. They speak differently. They carry themselves differently, which you could assume would be the difference between at the time a current tribe and the people who had become the so-called Negro. But it's interesting how stark they show them in difference, because a lot of these people would essentially be the same people, but they don't want to show you that. They don't want to show you the Choctaw who are in those areas like Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama. They want to show you those people, this parts of Texas that would still look like the people that were so-called black. They will not show you that. And part of that starts out, and I'm bring this is where I bring it back. Part of that starts out where they began showing depictions, because they had etchings, they had drawings that they showed in newspapers and in other documents and books, and they started to depict the Indian differently than the people that they were herding up and moving onto these reservations and then selling out land out from under them. That was where they started to get the stereotypical Indian, because in law, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, you can back me up on this, Carrie, they started changing the laws around how an Indian was supposed to look, how an Indian was supposed to carry themselves. They changed the laws so that way the people that they herded up, they could eventually say, well, you ain't Indian no more. You ain't got no land. How you Indian if you ain't got no land? Indians have land, don't they? You're not an Indian. Look how they do now. Well, where's your reservation? You don't have a reservation, or you ain't an Indian no more. And see, they could say these things, and what proof do you have in court against them? And our people did go to court, because even if you go to a powwow in this area, Tasha, she'll back this up as well. Our people went to court against these folks and won, but not everybody was equipped to be able to do that, especially when they started changing the laws around on people. And so, one last point I'm gonna make about William Lewis and Samuel Harrell, because these people are very close to my family uh, from that period. They took way up in New York people from that land that they were selling out from under them, kept them as laborers, forced them out of their own culture, and they moved them to a place a little bit further west, Bertie County. There's a town there called Lewiston, a small township. They're named after the Lewis family, Samuel Lewis. There's Harrell Cemetery up the road there from Lewiston, near Kelford. This is the stuff that Brother Carey been telling y'all to do. Look at where you come from. Look at who these people are. Because you'll find out what's been going on. You'll find out how your folks had land, had wealth, and had resources and lost them. And those people, they are mixed in with the last of the people that didn't leave with the Tuscarora. You go to the courthouse in Windsor, which is the seat there in Bertie County. Their records go back to 1711. 1711 was the end of the Tuscarora War. So when they were fighting the Indians, that's where the records start. You don't get to go past that. That's exactly where the records start. The hard written down physical records that the courthouse has. Once they got what they needed out of that area, that's when the records start, and no earlier. This is what our people are up against. This is what they do when they take your land and take your stuff and tell you and force you to move. And when the Tuscarora picked up and left, they said, if you ain't with us, if you don't leave with us, if you stay here on your land, and you adopt their ways, you ain't part of the tribe no more. So you got tribes who are telling other people from their tribes, you ain't one of us no more. You one of them. You got the invaders saying, no, you don't look like this other group of Indians, so you ain't Indian. You got everybody telling you you're not who you are. That's why this is important, because everybody, even your own kinfolk, in the right circumstances, will tell you you are not who you are, so they can make a little money, so they don't have to feed you, so they don't have to deal with you. And that's what all of these people did. You look at the story of the Chowanok Indians, and you'll see exactly everything Brother Carey was talking about. That was the point I wanted to make. I appreciate it, man.
Man, thank you for making that point. You'll see how he was talking about the counties and the people who lived in the counties and stuff. That's who you are. You're not who these other people say you are. You're no black nothing. You're not colored. These are labels they were put on you, to control, like he was saying. You had to walk a certain way. You had to swing your shoulders a certain way, so you wouldn't become a part of your people, to separate you from your people. I didn't say it. He shared that story. And I'm sure there's thousands of other stories like that around.
Yes,
You are
sir.
not what these people say you are. If you take what they say you are and wear that like a dashiki, you will be that. It's just that simple. But you won't be yourself. So go into those towns where you talk, do it, just genealogy on your people. You know, it's cool to know who they are, what they did. Yeah, that's important. But find out where they lived. What was there? What were they doing there? Why were they there? Why were they on the money at that time? Go look it up.
Yep,
Because
that's right.
that was your land. That's your land, man. And these five civilized tribes, they just they were used to get over into the interior. I mean, how are we civilized if we savages, monkeys, all these negative terms you're calling us? How are they civilized? And it was like somebody said in the chat, they start intermarrying. They start having children, because once, when you pick up guns to leave your home, it allows another army to move in on your women, doesn't it, fellas? See, we don't want to
Yep.
talk about that. Yeah, that happened. It's a ploy. It's done everywhere. Guess who don't know that?
Yep. We're the only ones,
We the
and it worked.
only ones that don't know that.
Yep, and it
Give
worked on
you
us
guns
every
to pick
time.
up to go. Give you guns to go pick up to fight for somebody else. That's the whole move right there. Leave the women and children empty-handed, so other men can come in and do what you're doing in other places. Isn't that how it's done? Please come up and explain if that's not how it's done. Explain to me how it is done. Explain. So, these five civilized tribes, and you'll always see that the five civilized tribes look mixed. Now, that this is a ploy that they use to ravage indigenous populations anywhere. You'll see it's the same on the other side of the world with Africa and Europe. They're all brothers. The what you would call Native Americans of Africa would be the Arabs. Right or wrong? It's between. Children's crusades, same thing here. They have babies, and Look up Thurgood Marshall. Check him out. Know what's going on. Just don't know nothing and get up and start speaking, because you're going to confuse everybody.
Okay, do you mind if I add one more point to that, to what you just
Yes.
said? I appreciate it. Thurgood Marshall. You look up Thurgood Marshall. You look up J. Edgar Hoover. This man that gave us all kind of horror in the last century. Look at some of who his people were. And on the subject of the mixing, because it has happened. It has always happened in different with different people in different parts of the world. Like you say, I mean, you got the same thing that happened in Africa. You had the same thing that happened in East Asia. Now, the thing with our situation in particular, because you look at our group of people, you look at the Aborigines in Australia, you look at the people in the Philippines, certain racial groups in the Philippines, and some of the other islands. A lot of the same thing was going on, but notice one of the differences is the identity of a lot of those people wasn't completely obliterated to the degree that ours was. And part of that had to do with exactly what Brother Carey is talking about, with exactly the ones that come in and mix in and then tell you that you ain't one of us because we look different now. We made it about, well, we let it become made about how people look. My grandmother used to tell me, because they used to go to a movie theater near the border of South Carolina. And she said when she was young that the white folks sat on the ground floor, like right there on the floor where the theater was to watch the plays and the shows and stuff. But the Indians and the Negroes had to sit on the mezzanine up in the middle section. And they would split the Negroes in one section and the Indians in the other. And the only way they could tell the difference between one of the two was if you could pass a paper bag test. And this was in the last century. This was like in the 50s, late 40s, early 50s. That recently, to a lot of us that's older than 30, 40 years old. That won't that long ago. We got parents and grandparents that were subject to this. And that's how they told you apart. Not asking for, a being a card carrying member of a tribe or what people you come from. No, that didn't mean anything. Paper bag test. And so you look at how they took that, and they took the fact that they changed a lot of these people from Indian. And some people can even see this on the census from decade to decade. The Indian one census, then your mulatto the next, then your black later on, colored. I've seen this in my own family talking about genealogy. You look at one group of census records, the same people living in the same place, Indian, but now they mulatto, mezclado, and now they black. It all depended on how somebody defined you, how other people defined you, what other people called you. And we still now are taking names, taking titles that other people are giving us. We foundational Black Americans, y'all. Who made that up? We African Americans. Who made that up? My great grandmother was not an African American. I can tell you she taught me how to make moccasins when I was 9 years old, though. And I always wondered, how did she know how to do that? I thought we was black. I remember saying that as a young boy. Well, if we descended from an Indian woman, her great grandmother was an Indian. So we descended from an Indian, then an Indian woman. How we black? Where did black come from? That's how. If somebody come along and show up and say, "No, you this now," and we go with it. We just, oh, okay, I'm that now. That's what I am. Oh yeah, and since you this, go fight. Go halfway across the world and fight for us and die. And if you're lucky to come back, we might give you something, or we might burn your town down like they did out there in Tulsa. Who knows? Sorry for the rant, Carrie,
No,
but
no,
yeah,
you
that's it.
no, you cool because I mean, it gives credence to what's being said and what's being done. And you just
Hmm.
help bring it and put it a little bit in more into focus. And that's why I invite people to come up and, share their stories, because it gives clarification. You can tell you're not lying. It's
I
it,
appreciate
it's
it, man.
it's makes sense. But when you come
Mhm.
up here adding all this other stuff, dude, don't speak.
Mhm.
Seriously. You see it. I mean, you just laid it out. I haven't heard what? I haven't heard no a lot of people say it like that. Damn. I mean, we won't even look at and see, and that's what gets me is if we look at it in the way that it is, it tells us what we need to do. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
like if you drown it. If you look at the situation that you in, you know you can't hold your breath that long. You have to take some action to make sure you get that next breath. That's
exactly.
all it is. But we want to lie, bullshit, coon, to make sure that these children don't grow up in the same way that you did in all this bullshit. Really? You see this the state of the world, how what they do on the world, just bomb people. Yeah, we not past that. No. And then we send our children to go fight that, to be a part of that. You ain't seen nothing yet. You keep holding on. You keep holding on to these people that tried to overtake your folks. You going down with them. You going down with them because, like you just heard this young man speak, he learning. I mean, damn, that's what we supposed to be doing. Learning, putting two and two together. Listen to what other people say. Connect the dots. The black man, the African American, doesn't do that. They're connected to black. Black is a whole. Look at it. Look at the word. Don't look at the definition. What does the word do? Why do people wear eye black under their eyes? To block out the light. It, you can't explain that to the Negro. I mean, you just don't get it. Don't understand it. I don't know. That's how the black African American does. Hey, come up and explain how they don't do that. Come up and explain how they don't do that. And then got the nerve to pass it off to their kids with no conscience, none whatsoever. So the five civilized tribes, they were used to bleed in more into the interior of what you call America, to get up there in Mississippi, what's some other towns? Memphis, St. Louis. Those are some pretty powerful areas up there. Just imagine when your ancestors were, that was their land. That's how they were living. You don't do that because you go directly to Africa. Don't even think about it. Don't even think, won't even do a genealogy to find out where your folks from, but claim you from Africa. That's what the African American and black does. Come and explain how they don't do it, how they do it, because that's exactly how they do it. And arrogant about it, right? So this is what I'm saying. Gotta stop bullshitting with yourself. Gotta stop bullshitting with these kids. Start telling them the truth so they can see a little bit clearer. Brother, I want to thank you for coming up and hanging out with me today. Really appreciate it. And
anytime.
thanks for story, and you helping folks out there because they'll do some of the same things that you did. So
My
I
brother,
appreciate you. I
my
appreciate you sharing.
my pleasure, brother Carey. Anytime.
Yes, sir.
I'm always happy to talk about these kind of things, and I appreciate your work. I really do.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. Okay, so look, it's summer. We in the middle of the summer. Go out there, have some fun, baby. Shoot, Slide Stone just passed. Hot fun in the summer. Hot fun in
There
the
you go.
summertime. Blast that. Per- Perfect for the summer heat. You guys have a good night, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.